Parem de me procurar. Parem de perguntar a terceiros sobre o meu paradeiro.
This Brazilian model and wellness influencer, Kat Torres, has been sentenced for human trafficking and slavery. This was after an FBI investigation looking into the 2022 disappearance of 2 women who followed Kat on Instagram led to the horrors behind this influencer's perfect persona. You are such a genuine gem. Thank you for clicking on my video. I'm Brooke Makenna, and this is literally unfathomable that an influencer, that somebody who has millions of followers, could do this to her followers. And it just goes to show you that human trafficking is unfortunately everywhere, and you just have to be so safe with who you trust and especially who you give control to, whether that is emotionally, physically, financially. A lot of people don't believe that Kat Torres got the sentencing that she deserved. However, her sentencing is not quite over yet. So let's just dive into this, because I guarantee you, if you have not heard about this woman, you are going to want to, and it's going to make you look differently at every single influencer you come across. I also want to thank our sponsor, Pretty Litter, who allows me to continue to tell these stories to you. I have been using Pretty Litter for as long as I can remember, having 2 kitties of my own. They're fully cats now. I just think that they're still my babies. But not only are the absorbent crystals that Pretty Litter is so good at trapping odor, but it's less dust for the cats to inhale. It's less mess for you to pick up. And as an anxious cat mom, my favorite part about Pretty Litter is that it monitors your cat's health. Pretty Litter actually changes colors to monitor possible early illnesses such as UTIs, kidney issues, things that are so prevalent with cats that a lot of the times you can't catch until much later. I also don't have to worry about running out to the store when I run out of kitty litter, because I just get Pretty Litter shipped to my door for free in a small bag that doesn't take up much space at all as far as storage. My cats mean the world to me, and so I use Pretty Litter to give them the best lives possible. So if you would like to do the same, all you have to do is go to prettylitter.com/Brooke and use code Brooke to get 20% off your first bag of cat litter, and they will send you a free cat toy as well. Now let's get back to the story. So in 2022, 2 Brazilian women vanished after going to live with the popular influencer Kat Torres. This was Desiree Freitas and Leticia Maia, who had lost contact with their families over these past few months. So those 2 women who had disappeared were found to be Kat's followers. Both had spiritual coaching done by Kat, and Kat would speak to them about her entities that she communicated with, which, if you were Christian, that entity was God. If you were not, it was memories from the past. But Kat was basically their mentor, and she said that as long as they followed her, they would be happier. But if you didn't, bad things would happen. And this was not known when these women were speaking to them. They were being manipulated and isolated and spoken to on one-on-one sessions, so nobody could really call out this manipulation. She would recruit these 2 women, these 2 vulnerable women, to Texas, where she was living, to help with her life coach business. And now a month later, they were silent, and Desiree's family even believed that she was killed after going to the United States. You see, Leticia Maine was born on July 9th of 2001, so she was 21 years old at the time that she vanished. She was the youngest of 3 brothers. She was known to be smart and sweet and strong and a sassy teenager who kind of just took that into adulthood, but in the best way possible. She was strong, she was fierce, she loved to play music, she loved to do others' makeup, do her own makeup, but she wanted to move to the United States. That was her ultimate dream. So she started looking into an au pair program that was an exchange program where you could nanny for a family in the US, and in turn you would get room and board, and they would pay you for food and such. And so she went and did this around 2020, and she was living in New York City. She was in contact with her family. She was saying that she was happy doing this. And in fact, she was asking them for some amounts of money at first. They were supporting her in ways that they could. And then she began asking for larger and larger amounts. And that's when they said, okay, what is this for? And she would explain that it was because she wanted to open a candy shop. They were confused by this. They denied this. And that's when they said that she stopped responding to them. She then quit nannying whatsoever and began working with someone that she called a friend. Because you see, Letitia was 21 now, but when she was 12 years old, she had had her first coaching session with Kat Torres. She began working at that age to afford these very expensive sessions, and 9 years later, she had made it to the US at 21 years old, and Kat, who had kept in contact with her, offered her a place to live. Now, this was said to be because the family that Letitia was babysitting for, the father was said to be abusing Letitia. And so Kat had offered her an escape. But now there was just no contact from her whatsoever, not even to update her family on what she was currently doing. But the other missing woman, Desiree, she was 26 years old and she had lived in Canada and then she had moved to Germany with her husband. She was known to be a hard worker and she one day wanted to own her own company. In fact, she would say that she slept 3 hours a day because she just had so much that she wanted to do with studying the rest of the time for her future. But soon enough, she came across Kat Torres, and Kat was helping others build their future.
Eu vim aqui falar com você porque eu já tô cansada de ver gente de bem perder. Eu tô cansada de ver gente de bem, igual você tá nesse momento, se sentindo pra baixo, sentindo que não é suficiente, sentindo que você precisa ser outra.
She realized that the messaging that Kat had aligned perfectly with what she wanted, and so soon enough, she was paying for these coaching sessions, and she was also draining her savings. And her husband got very upset with this and was kind of telling her that she no longer needed to buy these sessions at such a high price. However, her husband would say that Desiree began to tell Kat about this, and Kat would tell her she needed to move on from him and move in with her. And so she did. Now, there was another girl around this time who was also said to be recruited by Kat. This was a woman who went by Soul. She had been homeless and she had heard about this opportunity to help with the live coaching sessions and that she could be helpful in this because she had once taught yoga. She knew how to read tarot cards. And so she wanted to get out of this homeless situation she was in, and she applied for the job. She got it, but she was never paid for the job that she was offered. Soul had to escape after she had been forced to do domestic work 24/7 for free. And she claimed that there were other women, girls, they were at this house who lived there as well. They would all be taken to a room that was deemed the witchcraft room. And then she was saying that one of the girls, after being taken to the witchcraft room, looked her in the eyes and told her to drive her to the strip club because she was going to find her husband there. This girl was told by Kat that the voice in Kat's head was telling this girl that she needed to be a dancer. Soul would say that the women in the house normally were not allowed to communicate with each other or leave their rooms or leave the house. And when Soul had overheard Kat talking on the phone about cursing a woman into becoming a sex worker, Soul decided right then and there that she needed to escape. And so she contacted her ex-boyfriend and she got out of there. So she had survived, she had told her story. But if this was all true, Desiree and Letitia were still in this situation. And they had no communication with the outside world at this point. So the influencer's real life was dug into to find these women. And it was uncovered that Kate Torres was born on October 24th of 1988. She started modeling in Brazil around 12 years old, and at 14, she was taking modeling jobs to support her family financially. She was recruited by the Elite Model Agency, and at 18, her agency offered to send her to Europe from her small town in Brazil to continue her career. So she accepted this. She was flown all over the country for top brands to be in their campaigns, and she was on many international magazine covers. She was a top model. Eventually, she was seen going to parties and events with different celebrities. She was pictured with Leonardo DiCaprio in 2013, the A-list American actor, and rumors flew that she and Leonardo were dating. They had met at the Cannes Film Festival in 2013 through mutual friends. He was 38, she was 24, but that's never stopped Leonardo before. So she was asked about these rumors. She claimed that they were just friends, that he wanted to be with her, but that his energy wasn't the best. But the notoriety of being pictured with this A-list actor was so good for her career. So Kat quickly began to get more campaigns. She got higher pay, and her social media followers were growing, especially on Instagram. Thousands of people waited for her beautiful pictures to be uploaded, and then for her wellness tips when she began making little videos. Kat Torres easily made it to 1 million followers, and she expanded from modeling to acting as well. But Kat would later say that she was abused by many powerful men, and she was scared to talk about it during this time. But with her platform, she then decided to write a book that she called The Voice, about her life and how she became successful, how she overcame struggles, and her spiritual journey. So she decided to move to the States and began working on private coaching for her acting. This was with a woman who taught Nicole Kidman. So she was in that sphere of A-list celebrities, of people in power, of Hollywood elite. She was also posting silly little videos online, but that was not what she really wanted to do with her platform. You see, her platform and her followers led to her coaching sessions, and Kat began offering life coaching to all of her followers all over the world. She said she was born to be a life coach, that she had always had these revelations and predictions, and she called it The Voice. And that is why she named her book that. But she said when she was only 4, her grandmother took her to see mediums for her gift, because her grandmother and her mother also had this gift. And Kat was allegedly told at this time that her gift was so strong she had to guide others. So she quickly gained over 1,000 clients who were paying her now for this advice. Monthly, they would pay 73 Brazilian real, which was almost $14 US, or they would pay annually 700 Brazil real, equal to $129 US. Her slogan read, "Have love, money, and self-esteem that you've always dreamed of." These sessions were heavily promoted through her social media to all of her followers, and those who chose the more spiritually focused sessions would be led through the practices that Kat had learned from a Brazilian spiritual leader, John of God. Now, this guy is very controversial if you look into him, and he has actually been charged with sexual assault. But many of Kat's followers, whether they needed coaching or not, felt like this was a way to get a one-on-one with this famous influencer, to get her tips, her advice, how she became so successful, how she was seeing these A-list celebrities. And so as her followers grew, her prices went up. She was charging even more. And she then began to recruit women to live in her home as her witchcraft clan, is what she called them, but they were basically to help her with her business, or so she said. She was selling spiritual baths, selling merch. She had become this wellness guru, and many people were signing up for it. But now investigators were finding Desiree and Letitia's photos on sugar baby websites and escort websites. They also looked different, as though they'd had makeovers. With the search for these missing women, another woman came forward to tell her horror story with this specific influencer. This was a woman named Anna who claimed that she was in a very bad place in her life back in 2019. She was just getting out of abusive relationships. She was suffering health issues, not to mention she had trauma from an abusive childhood. So when she found Kat Torres online and her advice and this dream lifestyle, Anna was inspired by her. She wanted to find this spiritual help. She wanted to find God. So Anna started coaching with Kat, and then she was hired as Kat's assistant to move to New York with Kat to live with her in 2019. She was offered $2,000 a month to clean, to take care of her animals, and to just basically help Kat out. But when she arrived, she found out that this influencer's life was a lie. The home was gross, dirty, a mess, and the influencer was even worse. She would not be alone, even in the shower. She constantly had to have someone to talk to. She hated being in silence. So this meant that Anna was never allowed to go to sleep. Anna was isolated from everyone, and she was sleep deprived as well. But Anna was doing this because she thought that this was a good job opportunity. However, then she was never paid. And when she confronted Kat about this, Kat became very aggressive, which triggered Anna due to her past abusive relationship. And so she knew she had to get out of there. So after 3 months of this, Anna did escape with the help of an ex-boyfriend as well. And Anna then began coming to the realization that Kat had used her as a slave. And Kat kept her under her thumb for the next few months. But finally, on March 31st of 2022, Anna had reported this to the police, but this wasn't taken seriously. And when Kat heard that Anna was talking about her and making this report, in April of 2022, Kat took to her social media to threaten Anna. She said that Anna was a traitor, that she welcomed her into her home and she betrayed her. Kat then went on to say that Anna's skull would be placed in a special place in her home. Kat then called Anna a slave and told her followers to tag her. But as Desiree and Letitia's families took to social media, they began to call for the arrest of Kat Torres. They wrote their biggest concern was the physical integrity of the girls and that this false guru is held accountable as to not create more victims. They believe these girls were trapped in a human trafficking and prostitution scheme. Kat once again took to Instagram, making a video saying that the only thing that she ever did was give these girls jobs.
O que eu fiz foi dar emprego para as meninas e só, mais nada. Eu falei, vocês vão trabalhar para mim, se vocês trabalharem digno, se vocês forem digna, o salário de vocês vai ser digno. Elas começaram a fazer muito dinheiro.
But that wasn't all, because she would then post videos of both of these girls, both of these missing girls, Desiree and Letitia, talking to the family, telling them to stop looking for them. They said they didn't want to talk to them anymore and to leave them alone.
Esse vídeo para ordenar que vocês parem de me perseguir, parem de me procurar, parem de perguntar a terceiros sobre o meu paradeiro. Se eu bloqueei todos vocês, tem um motivo. Quer dizer que eu não quero falar com nenhum de vocês. Tô muito bem, eu tenho poder de escolha, eu tenho livre-arbítrio que Deus deu para todos nós. Então eu tô vivendo a minha vida e saco, vocês são insuportáveis. Me deixem em paz.
Then Letitia was posted in a video on her Instagram asking for help for Kat because she was in danger and the world was in danger.
Eu venho aqui falar em nome da Kat Torres, porque o mundo corre perigo. A Kat Torres corre perigo. Mark Zuckerberg, Vladimir Putin, eles precisam achar a Kat Torres. Eles precisam achar a Kat Torres e eles precisam salvar o mundo da guerra. Isso vai ser uma destruição. Se eles não verem essa mensagem, essas mensagens postadas aqui nesse Instagram, o mundo vai estar em destruição.
But when Kat's former assistant Anna saw these videos and heard that these women were possibly being trafficked, Anna went to report Kat to the FBI as well. And due to this, an officer called Kat Torres and FaceTimed her and wanted to speak to both of the girls to do a welfare check on them. They both told him that they were doing fine. Both Letitia and Desiree were spoken to, and he said he didn't see anything wrong. But we will get into the reality of all of that in just a moment. But in November of 2022, Kat, Desiree, and Letitia were asked to attend a welfare check where they were living in Maine at a sheriff's office. Now, when the girls walked in, they had such a frightened attitude that officers believed that these girls were being human trafficked by Kat. They refused to speak without her approval. They did not trust the police. And Kat told the police that all of this was made up by her haters who didn't want her to be famous. Kat was then deported back to Brazil and arrested on suspicion of human trafficking, slave labor, and medical fraud. The next month, Desiree and Letitia returned to their families safely, but they had been traumatized. Now, Desiree would write a book about her experience called Searching Desiree, and she would write that after these coaching sessions, Kat would call her crying, saying that she was having suicidal thoughts and that she needed Desiree to come and live with her and help her through this in Texas. This was after Kat had gotten Desiree to leave her husband for being toxic and abusive after he was saying she shouldn't spend so much money on her coaching sessions. Kat said that Desiree was one of the people that she trusted the most. So before Desiree even realized what was happening, she was on a plane going to Texas from Germany. Desiree claimed she was immediately taken to this witchcraft room with the other girls, and Kat had prayed for all of them. However, when they arrived, Desiree was told by Kat that the voices were telling her that Desiree was going to find her husband at the strip club. She was the woman that Sol was talking about was forced to be a stripper. When Desiree argued with her, Kat allegedly said that Desiree was wasting $1 million opportunity and that she, Kat, had already wasted so much money to get her there that she would have to charge her if she was not going to do this. She would have to charge her thousands of dollars, and if she didn't pay, then Kat said she would curse her. Kat then said she had to prove to God that she would do whatever it took to achieve her dreams. So Desiree would be forced to work at a strip club called Max Smith Strip Club, and she was dubbed Brazil or Chanel. She was said to be very popular. She came in early, she stayed late, she had lots of clients and earned good money. This was not something she wanted to do, however. Kat then began to count her money and to hold it for her, and Desiree was always told to leave her passport at home so no one would know her real identity. But it seemed as though this is more so Desiree could not run when she was out of the house. Kat told her that if she didn't want to dance anymore, that was totally fine. She could start sex work with the men at the club. And after this, online profiles were created for Desiree by Kat to sell her on the web. Desiree said she was afraid of Kat because Kat said she would report her if she ever stopped making this money since sex work was illegal in Texas. But she was also scared of Kat's husband, Zach, because he had many guns in his home that he was always messing with. But then Kat began to give Desiree and the girls quotas to earn a night's sleep in Kat's home. $3,000 is what they had to make a day, or they would sleep on the street, which Desiree did often. Then Desiree said the girls were forced to film those videos for Kat's social media after the parents were looking for them. This is where they were flown out to where Kat was hiding, basically in Maine. So this is how the girls got to Maine, and this is when the officer had called to do a welfare check. But it turned out that moments before that phone call, Kat had told them to be careful because the detective was full of tricks and that she would kick them out if they said anything. She would scream. Thankfully, somehow they got Kat to bring these women to the police station, and Desiree would say when the officers were finally asking her questions, she realized what Kat was doing to them, that they were slaves, that they were being trafficked. She was manipulated. She had been groomed. And in 2023, a trial was held for Desiree's claims. But also around 20 women came forward to BBC claiming they had similar experiences with Kat Torres. Many would testify for the prosecution against Kat. But during this trial, it came out that there were bank statements from Desiree that showed that she had transferred $21,000 in 2 months from June and July of 2022 to Kat. All of this money she was making was all going to Kat. But on June 28th of 2024, Kat Torres would receive 8 years in prison for her crimes, and the judge concluded that she had lured these women to the U.S. for the purpose of sexual exploitation. But Kat claims that all of her victims made it up, and she appealed this. But what led this influencer here? Well, we do have some backstory due to the documentary on BBC that prior to her Instagram success, her modeling success, it was kind of in the midst of her modeling success. She lived with a roommate in New York City in 2013. This was a man named Lezer, and he was an actor and a writer, and he would say that even then Kat had quite the collection of high-value items, and he didn't believe she was making that much money. He believed she was a sugar baby. And then at one point, she had had him go down to the lobby of their apartment to pick up an envelope that was full of cash. Kat's friends were told that she was a sugar baby and her sugar daddy was a Russian billionaire who was friends with Vladimir Putin. Now, they never even were given his full name, but Kat always had expensive gifts from him, travel plans to go with him. Her rent was paid for. She was very happy. However, this lifestyle did not last long for Kat because her friends would say she had to get a breast removed in 2015 due to a disease. After this, the gifts, the payments ceased, and Kat no longer spoke of a sugar daddy. The next thing everyone knew, Kat was kind of going off the deep end. She couldn't model as she recovered from this surgery. Her mother passed from cancer around this time. She was living off her mother's life insurance, and she was in a very bad spot. So she began to do the psychedelic drug ayahuasca. And these were said to be introduced to her during the party. She was going to these celebrity parties, the Hollywood elite, And so as she climbed the social ladder for her career, she was introduced to these drugs. But these drugs could change consciousness for up to 10 hours, and some cults were even said to use it. However, it could cause psychotic breaks or even death. Kat claimed that she used the drug once a month and that her soul left her body and started wandering around to visit her followers. This is when she got the idea to start her coaching journey, sharing what she believed that she learned under the influence of this psychedelic drug, T, along with her own gifts. Around this time in 2016, she had met and married a man named Colburn Bell after 2 months of dating. She said that the voice told her he was her soulmate, and he said that he went to different spiritual leader conferences with her to help her start her coaching. But he also said that Kat was a master manipulator, but her intent was positive. 3 years later in 2019, they divorced, and Kat posted on Instagram that he was a toxic person. But the next year when COVID hit in 2020, Kat was said to be canceled by many on social media. Even though she had such a large following, she began to post that she didn't believe that the virus existed and that the voice told her so. She said she had a cure for everything, including cancer. And with her career seeming to go downhill, her mental health was as well. And in 2021, Kat then married a man named Zach, was living in a van with him, and was pregnant with a boy that she referred to as Messiah. She began saying on live streams that she was the alien queen and her husband was the alien king. They had traveled to New York in the van around this time, and it was believed from there that they picked up Letitia and brought her with them. Eventually, all three of them moved to Austin, Texas, into this mansion, and that is when Desiree and Soul moved in too. Neighbors at this house said that they weren't very friendly, they didn't really speak to them, and they were evicted for lack of payment, supposedly when they had moved to Maine. So their items were actually just left outside for many days, and neighbors were just going through them. And they found a bunch of witchcraft items, voodoo dolls, as well as items for exorcisms. But now, this influencer was a prisoner, and BBC News Brazil interviewed Kat while in prison, but she said that there was no proof, there was no crime, and that when everyone was testifying against her, she could have laughed because it wasn't true. She even claimed that no women were living with her. She even denied her own social media posts, which have now been taken down but were confirmed, where she had threatened Anna, her previous assistant. She said she just didn't post that. She also said she did not regret one single word she had ever said to these women, but the judge deemed her a danger to society and banned her from the internet. However, this is of course only for the 8 years she was sentenced for, though this sentence could be longer, as this was just for Desiree, and the charges have allegedly been made against her from Letitia as well, with the possibility of more to come, because 20 women had come forward against her. But Desiree specifically wants to share her story as a warning. Her book will be linked down below, but you really do not know what's happening behind a screen, and a chance at social media fame, at money, at a beautiful lifestyle is not worth risking your safety whatsoever. This woman hid behind the fact that she was famous to use vulnerable women to make money, to exploit them for her own personal gain, and then to outright lie and force them to make these videos claiming to their families that they just didn't want to talk to them anymore. She was literally holding them hostage and forcing them to give her all of the money that they had been working so hard for by doing things that they didn't even want to do. And the fact that she used the people who followed her, the people who trusted her, and completely manipulated them using that trust is so disgusting. And I'm so glad she has been sentenced. You can tell there is no remorse in that lady whatsoever. She does not believe she did one wrong thing. And I hope that there is going to be some sort of rehabilitation that is happening that is forced, some maybe psychiatric treatment for Kat Torres while she is in prison, because after 8 years, I don't see much reform happening, and I see this actually just being a cycle that begins again if nothing is done while she is locked away. Have you ever had an experience like this where the person that you were following was nothing like they portrayed themselves as? Have they used that trust that you have of being a follower against you? I know that it's happened many times before, and I know that it's probably still going to happen again, and so please just be safe on the internet. Even if you are FaceTiming them, you are looking at them, they are the person that they say they are online as far as physically. Are they the same way mentally, emotionally, personally? You don't know their intentions. And unfortunately, you don't know if they have your best interest in mind. Don't forget to speak up. Your voice is powerful enough, and I love you to absolute pieces. Okay, bye.